This is Art 120 Photography 1, and this is going to be an introduction to using Bridge and also creating the series of folders within the student folder that we'll be uploading to our Google Drive. So you can see here that I have my name folder, which is saved on my desktop, and this is what I'm going to be uploading my pictures from, my contact sheets, my output files, my raw files, and so forth. So just to show you how I'd like you laying out your folders, at least for the folders that you'll be uploading for your student folders uh, and your files that will be in those folders. You'll have your name folder, so this will be what I'm going to upload to Drive. And again, this is on my desktop right now. And then in my assignment 3 folder, I'm going to have a series of 4 folders, and really for the following assignments after assignment 3, you should have probably at least these 4 folders. There may be another folder or 2 that I might have you create for other materials, but for now, for assignment 3, you'll need 4 folders. You'll need a contacts folder, which will be your contact sheets, an output folder, which will be the final files after they've been processed through Photoshop and then saved for output, which will be screen viewing for the next assignment. Raw files where you'll put your raw files, and then work files where you'll have those work files that you worked on for the output, which will be the Photoshop files that have all the different layers. So we'll go through those in subsequent videos. So for now, we're just going to get into Bridge and just sort of talk about the basics of Bridge and what we're going to use it for the beginning of this class, which really to start will be to make contact sheets. So Bridge, you can navigate to it just like any other program, either by doing a search here, going to the hard drive, going to the applications folder. You could also, if you have your applications folder down in your dock, here you can see it's indicated by Adobe Bridge 2020. Once I open it, I drop it into the actual dock itself, and I always put it by Photoshop because I'm often navigating between Bridge and Photoshop and then sometimes Lightroom. So I'm just going to launch Bridge. And when it opens, you'll see there's a navigation bar up here. It's one way that you can navigate. It will tell you what folder you're actually in. The folder that you're actually in will be where it says content here in the center of the frame. We'll go through these really just 2 buttons up here, the essentials and then output, which we use output for making in the contact sheets. Later on, we will probably get into not so much favorites, folders here. Again, this is similar to what you're seeing up at the top. But later on, we might get into doing a little filtration, talking a little about collections. I'm not going to get into this stuff too much in Photo 1. We get into these various other options later on once we enter Photo 2 and then Photo 3. But what I'm going to do now is navigate to my folder, which was my name folder, Joel Fisher, and then I'm going to go to assignment 3, and I'm just clicking through the folders. And then I'm going to go into my raw files folder, which I'm going to make my contact sheets from. You also can go to your folder here and then just drop it on top of the Bridge icon, and it will also load that into the window. One of the things that's nice about Bridge is you can also load multiple windows if you are going to be navigating or toggling between various folders. So you just click new folder, new window, and it'll open a new window, and then you navigate to the other folder. And then you'll have 2 different folders open if you want to be navigating or toggling between folders. So for this lesson right now, we're just going to talk about how to make a contact sheet. I'm not going to talk about the batch rename in this lesson. I'll talk about that in a second lesson. So for now, for making the contact sheets, all we're going to do is we navigate to our raw folder, and I'm just going to make a contact sheet of all these images that are here in this folder. And you can see in the bottom here, it says there's 116 items, 17 are hidden. What you should know is if you see this, some are hidden, they're probably not actual pictures that are hidden, but the XMP or the tag files. So since I processed a bunch of these files, you see in the upper right-hand corner this icon that looks like a bunch of sliders. That just shows you that there's an XMP file that was processed with, excuse me, that file. So all I'm going to do, and right now I'm not going to move them around, but just to know, if you do want to move them around in your contact sheets, all you need to do is click and drag, and you can move pictures around. You can also click hold the command button down and click multiple pictures if you wanted to drag, say, a bunch of them. And this would, once you go to output, these would appear in the new order that you put them in. In the batch rename section of talking about Bridge, I will go through how to move these and then how we would name them so that then they would be in the same order. But for now, we're just going to be making our contact sheet or output for contact sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command A for select all, and that selects all the pictures. So now you see that blue bounding box around the pictures. And I'm going to go from the essentials to the output button. And what you'll see is a preloaded template, and it says drag images here. So all I need to do is drag the images here. First, what I want to do though is check and see how many pictures or how many thumbnails there will be on each sheet. So this one has 4 by 5, so that's 20, which I think 20 is a good number, 24. I'd probably go no more than 36 total, because then the thumbnails get to really, really small and they're kind of difficult to see. And since we're going to be viewing these things digitally, I think 20 is fine, or if you want to change it from 20 to 24, that's fine. You do that by clicking on this custom button here, and then down in the document you change the right here across first by row, and you change this so that it is the specific number. So if it's 24, maybe you do 4 by 6 instead for contact sheets. Right now I'm going to just leave it at the 4 by 5, and on the document size I'm going to change this to US letter, since typically we're working in US letter. And all you're going to do is you're going to click, and since these are all selected right now, I'm going to just click and drag and drop them, the 116 files, and you'll see that it's going to make a total of 6 pages of contact sheets. So I can toggle between them by hitting these arrow keys, and you can see there are all of my images on my contact sheet. If you need to reset, you can just hit reset and it will clear out the template. So if I hit reset, they're gone. I'm going to drag them back on for now. And again, 6 sheets. Show guides. The guides are just what you're seeing in terms of the separation. If you click off that, you'll see those disappear. So that's what it's actually going to look like when you open them in the PDF. So US letters, the page size, 8.5 by 11 inches, background color white, as I mentioned. In class today, you don't want a color here typically, because if you do have a color here, it does print when you go to print these things, so then it's just wasting ink. So in order not to waste ink, we just leave the background to white. Sometimes, maybe later down the road, especially if you're working in black and white, if your images tend to be really light, so they're really high key images, then you might want to change the background color to black or gray, just to create more separation between the white of the paper and your pictures. These pictures are all pretty dark. They're shot in studio with a dark background, so I'm going to leave the background white here. Resolution, for print resolution, you would leave it at 300, but just because of upload times and just because you're going to have a lot of pictures and images, a resolution of 150 is totally fine for on-screen resolution. It allows me to zoom in and actually see the pictures clear enough that I can see what they look like, but they're not such high resolution that they're going to make us a giant file. Image quality, set that to 10 for now. Thumbnail placement, across first by row. You could also go down first by column, select whichever you prefer. Rotate thumbnail for best fit. I typically don't do this, rotate for best fit. I just leave that clicked off and just let it be rotated how the pictures were, especially if you're doing 4 by 5, they're really large enough that you have enough space around the pictures. Include file name. I would include the file name just so that when you make selections of pictures, then you can know, even if they're just named by number like they are here, then I could say, oh, go to photograph 3A7678, and you would know that this is the picture to consider for processing. Include file extensions. This doesn't really matter as much. You could click this off. I don't really care if you have your file extension on there or not, just as long as you're shooting in RAW and they are the RAW files. You can, if you want to change the font, feel free to change the font size. You could also do that. Grid margins, this is right here is where you set, if you're going to do custom, where you would change this to rows. You can see here I can actually change it to a custom by just changing these numbers right here. I'm going to leave it 4 by 5. You see if I go 4 by 6, right, all of a sudden the thumbnails get a little bit smaller. And again, for digital, and then all of a sudden you also have fewer pages, right? For this right now, I'm going to just leave it at 4 by 5. I think that's a good size where I can see the thumbnails pretty clearly. Cell spacing, you know, I would just leave all this to the default. I think the defaults are fine for this stuff here. The only one you might want to change is the grid layout. Header, footer, no, don't put any headers or footers on there. Watermark, leave a watermark off. Don't need to see a watermark on your pictures. It's just going to be distracting, so I can't actually see the images. PDF properties, you know, if you have some reason later on, if you want to have a password or permissions password, you could always enable that. For the purposes of this class, you probably don't need to really do that. Open in full screen mode, I would leave that clicked off. Let the viewer really sort of determine that. Automatic advanced page, also leave that clicked off. I would just leave all this stuff clicked off. Then all you really need to do is export to PDF, click export, and then name. So this will be, if I made one contact sheet for assignment 3, assign 3 JW Fisher, and then I would navigate to my folder right here, assignment 3, contacts, save, and then you let it save, and then it will generate the PDF, and this is what you will upload to your contact folders on Google Drive. So this should just take a minute as it's generating a PDF. So actually, why you're seeing this take a little bit longer now than it did in class is because the files are CR2 files, and they're raw files that are a little bit bigger than the files that I worked on in class, which are just JPEG. So the processor in Adobe Bridge worked a lot quicker when they were smaller files. So you'll see it'll take a little bit longer with your raw files. And there's my contact sheet. Great, and then I could go through and look at these pictures and say, oh, wonderful, and I can zoom in similarly to see what it looks like, zoom out. You know, now as I'm looking at them, I would say, let's take a look and see what the file size of this. It's only 2.1 megabytes. Why don't you go ahead and set your resolution to 300? So set your resolution to 300, and I will remind all of you when you actually go to make your contact sheets. I think 300 it'll actually allow me to zoom in even more and have clearer images. All right, that is it for the contacts bridge introduction. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Thank you.